Welcome, one and all, to the Hammer Territory podcast. That came out better than expected. It's always a pleasure to be with you. Sean Coleman here with Stephen Tolbert. I will be honest, still less than 100% on my end. I think that I am a bit healthier than the Braves offense right now, but that's what we're here to discuss. Stephen Tolbert, always a pleasure to be with you, sir. We were just bragging about this Braves offense on Tuesday, Stephen. We thought that maybe they had turned the corner, and we just wound up slamming into the corner. It's been a disappointing couple of games, but as always, good talking with you, partner. Hope all's been well.
Sean, I needed that welcome, like I needed oxygen. I needed that boisterous. I needed my guy to come through, and of course, you delivered. That's just classic Sean. Yeah, what just a piece of crap couple of games. I tell you, I was watching tonight, and tonight's game honestly felt like a playoff game from the last like 3 years, where it's a good game. The Braves are in it, but their offense just gets dominated by top level pitching. And listen, Yamamoto he leads the league in ERA. Brad Rowland, our fearless leader, Brad Rowland, makes sure to send that to us in our chat. That needs to be mentioned. One of the best pitchers in baseball. Getting shut out by this guy, or not shut out, but losing 2-1 against this guy is not necessarily a crazy outcome. But it did remind me of pretty much every playoff game they've played since the 21 World Series, 22, 23, and 24, where every time they go up against top-level pitching, they got shut out. And listen, I'll say this year, it's kind of been the opposite, where they have done really well against some of the best pitchers they faced, and then they get shut down by some guy with a 7 ERA. So I don't know. I don't know what to make of it. But tonight's game, I get maybe it's because it's Braves Dodgers. It just reminds me of the playoffs, but it did have a postseason feel. And unfortunately, the offense had a very familiar postseason feel where it just didn't show up. So, they were so close to getting back to 500. Now they lost 2 games in a row. What you don't want is another skid where you dig yourself another 5-6 game hole that you got to climb back out of. So, we'll talk about the games the rest of the weekend, but yeah, really just a really crappy couple of games from the Braves offensively.
Yeah, and that's what we'll say is that this result that you see here. I mean, Yamamoto right now, I think it's no far-fetched statement to say that he likely is the NL leader in the Cy Young race right now. No, we're only a month into the season, but the guy's legitimately dominant right now. Like, you give him all the credit in the world. I'm not frustrated by the fact that the Braves really couldn't get anything going against him. It's not surprising with how good he's been. It's just a bit frustrating that the Braves also couldn't get anything going against the Dodgers bullpen, though again, they're the Dodgers. They're a very good bullpen. What this does do is just make me even more disappointed in our lack of offense in that Colorado game. I don't want to sit here and worry too much about the past, but that unfortunately, again, we've talked about, as we go into May now, despite the fact that we had such a good, last basically 3 weeks of April, is that even with that 3-week stretch of good play in April, there's still so little room for error because of how bad of a start that we had, that when you have a couple of games like this in a row, it gets really frustrating. As a matter of fact, Steven, let me ask you a question. When was the last time that the Braves lost 2 games in a row in which in both games they gave up 2 or less runs?
I mean,
I'll give you leeway. I'll give you leeway. If you can guess within a 3-year period, I'll say you're correct.
When's the last time they lost 2 games in a row where they gave up 2 runs or less?
Yes.
That's the question.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, the offense was so bad last year. I feel like it happened like 12 different times last year, but I don't know if it happened back-to-back games. I don't know. You're a tricky guy. You could be like, this could be like from the 70s or something, or like the 80s where the Braves sucked. I don't know. What is it?
Not that far back. June 2013. Before that, it was before that, it was 2005. Before that, it was 2000.
2013. Interesting.
Yeah, 13 days. It's been 12 years since the Braves lost 2 straight games in which they gave up 2 runs or less. So that's how rare of an occurrence this is. But the reason that I point that out is because the biggest takeaway from me is this. Again, I don't consider tonight that disappointing. It makes me, even more disappointed in that Colorado loss. But it goes back to what I've kind of said. I know many have said this, but I feel that this Braves offense can match any offense in baseball. I feel that this Braves pitching staff can match, especially the starters, can match any pitching staff in baseball over a short series. But the problem is for the Braves is that they also seem to be the team that has the most frequent occurrence of 180 variances. Either they're really hot or they're really cold. And you never get the pitching and the offense hot at the same time. And that's what's really stood out about this team so far. The most consistent thing that they are, the thing they're most consistent at is being inconsistent. And that's what really seems to be hurting them. I know we've talked about how good the offense has been against quality pitching this season, but the fact that they couldn't muster anything, especially against the Dodgers bullpen, with as good of an outing as Grant Holmes provided, it's really, really frustrating. And just again, this team to get out of the hole that it's in, it's going to have to be consistently elite at something. It's hard to have faith they're going to get to that point sometime soon.
And let me say this about the offense. So you take like Austin Riley. Austin Riley struck out 2 more times tonight. So he has 43 strikeouts on the year and he has 7 walks. 43 strikeouts at this point. That's like he's on pace to strike out like 240 times, which would, I mean, that's insane. I think his career high is like 170. So you're not getting the best version of Austin Riley so far this year. And 7 walks is abysmal for him. Marcell Ozuna. Let's even take Marcell Ozuna. Well, Marcell is walking a ton, which is great. He's on base all the time. But like coming into the night, he had 12 runs driven in. So he's on pace for like 60 RBI this year. Like he's not driving in runs. And I think he's only got like 4 hits this year with runners in scoring position. Like he's on base a ton, which is great. But, you know, Marcell being on base is not all that. On top of, you know, besides not making an out, once Marcell is on base, it's not like he's a weapon on the base pass, is what I'm saying. He runs like a mailbox. So Matt Olson has been inconsistent, up and down. Most of it has been bad luck. He's hit the ball really well. Sean Murphy has kind of been the only guy who is, you know, driven the ball consistently, doing kind of what you expect. You know, Eli White kind of saved the offense for like a week, if we're being honest. You know, him and Nick Allen at the bottom of the lineup kind of saved everybody. Ozzie Albies, we're going to get to him, you know, more specifically in a second. But like, I'm working on a theory, and I've been working on it since May of last year, that this Braves offense needs their alpha. Like when Ronald Acuna Jr. is in the lineup and he's doing what he's doing, it settles everybody else down to the point, and it relaxes everybody. And everybody can be, no one has to be the top dog because Ronald is that. And the more I've watched this team the last basically calendar year now without Ronald, the more I believe that's what they miss. They miss the alpha where everyone else does, where no one else has to be the alpha. And obviously we're going to get Ronald back at some point. We don't know what version of Ronald we're going to get back, but if we get that guy back, if we get 2023 Ronald back, I think you will start to see the best versions of all of these other guys, exactly like how we saw in 23 when Ronald was the best player on the planet and every other guy on the roster just followed suit because no one had to be the guy because Ronald took that job. I could be dead wrong, but there's just something missing from this offense, and there has been from a long time. And it's hard not to just say, oh, it's the MVP. Like the MVP is what's missing. And hopefully that changes soon.
Absolutely. And we'll discuss get a bit more detailed on what exactly it is about this offense that probably is a big factor in how inconsistent it can be after a word from our partners.
If you want a razor that looks good, makes you look good, gets the shave done, and doesn't cost much,
Oh.
Is it nice?
That's a hairy John. And you can smell it too. Smell it, John. Smell it.
Oh, wow. What
After
is that?
See, that's Harry's. That's the shave gel. I'm telling you, look, I mean, this.
You look scary, man.
It's the shot.
Fresh.
Now come in, get this.
I don't want to touch this head anymore. Oh, my God.
That looks like
it is
German
soft.
engineered blades made
It
in their
is
own
soft.
factory that stay sharp longer.
I'm using the razor, and it does not. You can start to feel when it
Yeah.
gets dull. I mean, you guys only do like here and like up here.
True.
I'm doing acreage. Get the edge on your shave with Harry's. Normally their trial set is $10, but right now you can get it for just $6 at harrys.com/foul. That's our exclusive link, harrys.com/foul for a $6 trial set.
Take me out to my TV on FanDuel Sports Network. Yeah. Watch me some dingers and RBIs. I'm just glad they have my local team live for its root for the Bravos. If they don't win, it's a shame. Braves games, announcers, and more Braves games. FanDuel Sports Network has the Braves. Stream now.
Dream now. Oh, sorry. All right, back to discussing some Braves baseball. And Steven, here's what I want to do. I want to break the offense down into trios, okay? So the first trio is you've got Marcell Ozuna, Matt Olson, and you got Sean Murphy. The guys who have, either pitchers don't want to pitch to them, which I think is the case with Marcell Ozuna and Matt Olson, at some point. And Matt Olson has been, outperforming his results so far. Sean Murphy, of course, has been spectacular. You've right now got Eli White, Nick Allen, and Alex Verdugo, who are playing above their head, but they've done a good job at being able to help the lineups turn over. And the big key for those three compared to the last three, which is Riley, Harris, and Albies. Verdugo, Allen, and White. We talked about it in the last podcast. What stands out for me even more than the fact that they're playing a bit over their heads right now, where they're doing better than expected, is the fact that they consistently can put together good at-bats. That is something that is sorely missing from Austin Riley, Michael Harris, as well as Ozzie Albies. I don't know what the strikeout to walk numbers so far this season for those three are off the top of my head, but I would imagine that if you look at those three combined, you're going to see a strikeout rate above 30, and you're probably going to see a walk rate below 6. And that is very, very hard to allow for consistent needed performance from your lineup if basically you're one of your top 3 hitters and probably, 3 of your top 6 hitters are performing like that. As much as Olson and Ozuna are walking, and as good as Murphy has been, the Braves need better at bats from Riley, Albies, and Harris. And I'm not just talking about when they get the big hits. I'm talking about consistently good at bats to where they're working counts, getting on base, and they're just showing that they can perform at their talent level. That's got to be there.
Yeah, so each guy's got something different going on. With Austin, he's clearly pressing, or he's not picking up the ball. Maybe we need to do an eye exam. Maybe we need to get some rec specs for Austin because he's swinging at pitches that I have not seen him swing at since he was a rookie, and he was really bad. I mean, people forget there was a stretch where we didn't know if Austin Riley was going to make it because he just cannot stop swinging at bad pitches, especially sliders off the plate. Fans will remember that. And he's kind of reverted back to that guy this year. And so I don't know what's going on. I'm a little more likely to give him some longer runway just because we've seen him be like MVP Riley, level Riley, not too distant past. So I think that's still in there somewhere.
Ozzy's is only 6 weeks away.
Right. Yeah. We got to get to the summer months, and then he turns into Godzilla. Ozzy's got a weird thing right now with pop-ups. I don't know. I'm writing about this at Batter Power, so I've got a bunch of numbers in my head. But, there's no player in baseball that has more batted balls this year with 60-degree or higher launch angle than Ozzie Albies. There's no batter in MLB this year that has more batted balls with 50 degrees higher or launch angle or higher than Ozzie Albies. He is popping the ball up at such an insane rate right now. And listen, pop-ups are a big deal because pop-ups do not operate the same way that other batted balls do, where they, on average, the average for batted balls on play is about 300 for a major league hitter. But that's not, if you just have pop-ups, it doesn't work like that. Like the average the batted ball average in play for pop-ups is like 018. It's like something ridiculous. Like pop-ups never go for hits. And so I don't know if it's because the bat's too big. That's what everybody's saying. He wields this giant bat and he can't get on top of anything. I don't know. He's done that his whole career. So I don't know. Maybe that's it. Maybe he needs a torpedo bat. I don't know. But he's popping the ball up at an insane rate. And when you pop the ball up as much as he is, it's almost impossible to do anything productive at the plate. And then Michael Harris has 4 walks for the entire season. He has 4 walks. He's on pace for 20 walks for the entire season. Marcell Ozuna has 28 walks now, and Michael Harris is on pace for 20 walks for the entire season. So, yeah, they need those guys. They need Riley specifically. You could probably survive without Ozzy or Harris for a little while, but without Acuna, man, they need Riley. And Ozzy's got to stop popping the ball up. The pop-ups are just crazy. But yeah, you're right. I mean, those 3 guys, they need better. And it's sad that Eli White is you trust Eli White to put up a better at bat than you do Austin Riley at the moment. But I kind of trust Eli White to put up a better at bat than Austin Riley at the moment. And it's not a surprise the Braves offense is struggling.
Well, and with that in mind, like I'm not wanting to give a hot take here or anything like that, but something that comes to mind for me is that if pitchers are not going to pitch to Marcell Ozuna, then why not move him up to second in the order to where he's getting on base at the clip that he is? And then you've got, at least for right now, your second and third hitter many times batting with him on base. Second and third best hitter in Riley and Olsen in some combination. Like, to me, that may be a minor tweak. Like, I don't think that that's anything that's far-fetched at all. That may be a bit of a minor tweak to help this lineup out. Verdugo is very good at watching pitches up top in the first spot. Ozuna is your best hitter right now. Why not bat him second? And then, some combination of Olsen, Riley, and then Murphy. That, to me, may be a subtle, simple, but effective move that could allow for us to more consistently get Ozuna more at bats potentially, but also take advantage of him being on base as much as he is. Do you think something like that could make sense? I mean, we've seen Ozzy shifted down and Murphy shifted up, but I think Ozuna out of the 2-hole could make sense for this lineup.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be against it. Ozuna has basically stopped swinging. Like, if you look at Ozuna's swing numbers, when I checked this a couple of days ago, this was true. I'm not sure if it's true now, but Ozuna had the lowest swing rate of any player in Major League Baseball. Like, he's just stopped swinging, and his swing rate has dropped by like 20 percentage points just from last year. He's just stopped swinging, and so it's not a surprise he's walking as much as he is, and it's also not a surprise that he's not driving in as many runs as he used to. It's hard to drive in runs if you don't swing. So, yeah, I mean, putting him higher in the order where he can be more of an on-base guy, I don't hate that. I guess if I was gonna play devil's advocate, Riley just needs to stop swinging at bad pitches, and it doesn't matter if Ozuna's on base in front of him or if Ozuna's on base behind him. He needs to stop swinging at bad pitches. And Harris needs to take more walks, and Ozzy needs to learn how to square a ball up. So, and they all need Ronald Acuna Jr. back in the lineup. So, if I was going to rank the things that need to happen, I would put all those things ahead of changing the lineup around. But if you're the manager, it's tough because before 2 days ago, we were all talking about how good this lineup had been doing. And, it changes quickly around here, obviously. But, yeah, I don't hate putting Ozuna higher in the lineup just because he's got like a 500 on base percent. He kills you on the bases because he's slow as dirt. But, at least he's on. And, you get an at bat with Olsen and Riley with him on base. So I don't hate that.
Yeah, absolutely. Just thinking of something, I know that those other things that, those other players doing what we would like for them to do is something that makes more sense to hope for. But my whole point is why just put in a more effective position the one thing you can make on, which right now is Marcell Ozuna, either getting on base or putting together good at bats. But speaking of good performances, want to put the spotlight tonight, the FanDuel Sports Network player spotlight on Grant Holmes. Now, we had talked about, coming into this game, Holmes had kind of been up and down. I think that he put together good performances, but the walk rate is certainly something that had been a bit scary. And that's something that kind of stuck up on him his last outing, was because of the fact that, he was just walking so many. I know the Braves won that game in great fashion. But the thing I'm getting at is that his walk rate caught up with him. Well, tonight he went blow for blow with Yamamoto, again, who right now easily could be considered the favorite for the National League Cy Young. Grant Holmes looks spectacular. 9 Ks, 1 walk, only 2 earned runs. I believe that it was home run to Mookie Betts, as well as a sac fly, I believe, to Will Smith. An outstanding performance from Grant Holmes. You've got to win these starts that Grant Holmes gives you, but it was a great performance from Grant Holmes. It was good to see him in a playoff type atmosphere be able to deliver for this Braves starting staff.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about it a bunch this year. Like, if everybody has done their job as well as Grant Holmes has done his job, which was to be a fourth starter, then this team would be a lot better off. I think Scott said it on one of their last shows, but like, if you're making a list of the biggest things that's gone wrong with the Braves this year, it'd be a long time before you got to Grant Holmes. He'd probably closer to the bottom. So fantastic start against a really good Dodgers team. I think he struck out Betts, Ohtani, and Freeman in the first inning on like 11 pitches. That's eye-opening stuff. He had 9 strikeouts tonight, 2 walks. Listen, the walks have been a thing. I don't actually mind when guys get a little wild. It can actually be kind of effective. It just can't be to the point where it's constantly dragging down your pitch count, where you're only getting 4 innings. And so tonight he got 6. And, I think sometimes like Spencer Swellenbach, take for example, I think sometimes he throws too many strikes. I think he gets ahead 0-2, and I think he throws too good of a pitch on an 0-2 count or a 1-2 count. So being a little wild in the zone or a little wild out of the zone is not always a bad thing. And there are nights like tonight where it can be very effective. And he's got good stuff. That curveball is real. That 96-mile-an-hour fastball is real. So he's a really solid fifth starter. He has to control the walks are the thing. That's going to be his thing. If he can limit the walks and limit his pitch count, then he's a really good fourth starter. He is not the problem, and he has not been the problem basically all year, minus maybe one start. He's just been really good, and he's been a godsend. I'll tell you what. With Ronaldo and Strider going down, with Chris Sale having the start that he's had, Schwellenbach being up and down, like, Grant Holmes has been a godsend for this team, and he gave him a chance tonight. That's all you can ask. It's best, one of the best teams in baseball. Gave him a chance. Offense does anything, and they win that game. So good on him. Stuff is real. Got to control the walks, but effectively wild isn't always a bad thing.
So, Steven, I'm going to ask you a question here, and I'm going to give you the chance to wait till after our FanDuel Spotlight commercial here. So, in 1934, a pitcher by the name of Carl Hubble famously struck out 5 straight Hall of Famers in the 1934 All-Star Game. Is that the second most impressive stretch of pitching after the fact that Grant Holmes struck out Shohei Ohtani, Mookie Betts, and Freddie Freeman in a row? Which was the more impressive performance? Stephen Tolbert, ponder on that as we give you more information when it comes to the FanDuel Sports Network Player Spotlight. Use code BASEBALL30 at FanDuelSportsNetwork.com and wait till after the message to get Stephen Tolbert's answer.
You can now stream Braves games through FanDuel Sports Network, and if you use the promo code BASEBALL30, that's promo code BASEBALL30, you can start it off with a 30-day extended free trial at FanDuelSportsNetwork.com/packages. That is FanDuelSportsNetwork.com/packages. Promo code BASEBALL30. Offer expires 5/2/25, $19.99 a month after free trial. Cancel during free trial to avoid charges. Eligibility restrictions apply. Visit FanDuelSportsNetwork.com for details.
Again, Carl Hubble struck out in a row Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig, Jimmy Fox, Al Simmons, and Drew Cronin. 5 straight future Hall of Famers of the 1934 All-Star Game. Grant Holmes, Shohei Ohtani, Freddie Freeman, or Mookie Betts, and Freddie Freeman. 3 straight future Hall of Famers. Stephen Tolbert, what was the more impressive performance?
I wasn't listening to anything you said there. I would say Tyler Matzik striking out, Mookie Betts, Albert Pujols, and somebody else. I can't remember who the other guy was in the 2021 NLCS with a runner on third base.
Steven Sukic, she played with the A's and the Rays and all that. I forget who it
Yeah,
was.
I can't remember. Who it was. But that was the most impressive. I don't even know who was the person you said? The first person you said?
Steve I forget.
No, the guy who threw in like the 30s.
Carl Hubbell,
Carl
1934 All-Star game.
Yeah, I don't know who that is. I didn't even know that happened. That's cool. Grant Holmes did strike out 3 future Hall of Famers. But Tyler Matzik forever. Tyler Matzik forever.
Tyler
Is my answer to that.
Hashtag Tyler Matzik forever.
Tyler Matzik forever.
Speaking of historical performances that we are ready to see back in action again, we did get some rather vague but non-negative news about both Spencer Strider and Ronald Acuna Jr. on Friday. Excuse me. Yes, Friday. Basically, the news was that the anticipation is that Ronald Acuna Jr. is likely going to be back within the next month. Now, that likely means he'll be back at the start of June. And for Spencer Strider, he's back throwing, not back on the mound. So again, vague, but we haven't seen any setbacks. The whole point is, Steven, is that within the next month, we're likely to see both on the field again, and that at least has to be exciting for this Braves squad.
Yeah, I like labeling it non-negative news. It wasn't positive news. It just wasn't negative news. So it was non-negative. Yeah, I kind of love that. Yeah, very vague. Listen, we knew Spencer was going to be out for a while, probably a month. Ronald is probably going a little slower than we hoped. I think most of us were hoping mid-May, maybe late May. It looks like it's going to be more June. I was thinking about this today. They're letting him build strength up in his legs. They're doing a lot of leg training exercises. Obviously, he's coming back from a torn ACL. And in 2022, we saw what happens when Ronald doesn't have trust in his legs when he hits. And it's, he was just kind of a shell of himself when he came back from that first ACL. So if they have to wait till June to get him back, but get him back where he's like fully trusting those legs, because if you ever wonder how a dude who's 180 pounds soaking wet can hit a ball 490 feet, it's because he swings with his entire lower body. I mean, his legs are everything in his swing. And so if that's what it takes to get that guy back, then I'm fine. I'm fine waiting till June. I know people want him back as fast as possible. I don't want him back as fast as possible. I want as high a quality Ronald back as quick as we can get that version back. And so if it takes that long to get that version back, then I'm fine waiting. This team has mostly covered up the 0-7 start. They almost got it all the way back to 500. So it's not quite as dire as it was a couple of weeks ago when they were 8 games under 500, but I'm okay waiting. I'm okay waiting till June to get Ronald back. Spencer, listen, it's a hamstring. You never know. Hamstrings are just weird. He hurt it throwing long toss. I mean, there's no rhyme or reason to hamstrings. So whenever the doctors say he can go, that's when he would go. It might be around the same time, June. But they need them both back 100%. No doubt. They need both these guys, especially with the way some of their best players have been not performing lately. They need Strider. They need Acuna. But I would rather wait a little extra longer to get them back fully ready to go to be stars than try to do it early like they did in 22 with Acuna, and we saw how that went.
Absolutely. And we talked about it in the offseason. We did a full podcast over this exact subject. What would be the most what would be the best outcome for how Strider as well as how Acuna came back? And we both agree that we would much rather wait a little bit longer for Acuna to be the fully confident version of himself, especially in his performance. We'd much rather that version of Acuna come back than someone who comes back 2 weeks earlier but isn't sure, because we've already seen that occur. By the way, if you're someone that is superstitious, in May, the Braves will have played at Pittsburgh and also at Boston, where 2 of the 3 most frightening leg injuries that Acuna has had in his career have occurred. So we'll get those out of the way. We won't worry about where we play the Marlins, but that's at least a positive. The whole point is that for the Braves, they know that they're going to get their best starter and their best player back soon, but they don't have time to wait on that. And that's the other thing as we wrap up this edition of the Hammer Territory podcast that I think is very important. The Braves are going to flush these past 2 games. They've got to flush them. They got to forget them. They've got to move on. They have got to win at least one of these next 2 games because they really cannot afford to go back down 4 games under 500. After the Dodgers, they got another 2 weeks of a pretty good stretch of the schedule for where they'll be playing opponents that they should be able to beat, should be able to get, some series wins in a row before the second half of May becomes tough. But the Braves need to get one of these games against the Dodgers. Schwellebach going tomorrow. You got Bryce Elder going on Sunday, who's been pretty decent over his past couple of starts. Stephen Tolbert, how confident are you? We've got to get a win over the next 2 games.
I feel good about tomorrow. Schwellenbach versus Sasaki. He's had kind of a rough entry into Major League Baseball, which is not anything new. So I feel good about tomorrow. They're at home. The offense has got to score some runs, but again, it's a guy you can score runs off of. Listen, Sunday is a Bryce Elder start, so I don't feel great if I'm being honest, but he's been solid the last 2. Dustin May's got really good stuff. He can be up and down. The Dodgers have looked very ordinary. I mean, listen, the Dodgers scored 2 runs tonight. Any sort of offensive output at all, and the Braves win this game. So, the Dodgers have not exactly looked like the 120-win team that we thought they were when they were 8-0. So yeah, Schwellenbach comes in. I could see him throwing a gem. I could see Sasaki, having some trouble here or there, and the Braves winning a 4-1 game or something like that. So I'm reasonably confident tomorrow. Less so Sunday. So I'd love to win tomorrow's game, so you don't have to depend on Sunday to avoid a sweep. But you're right. The Braves need to avoid a sweep. They do not need to go through this again, where they spend all this work, all this time, all this effort getting back close to 500, and then watch it piss away in 4 games. That would be deflating. So make sure you get at least one of these, and then the schedule lightens up, right? You got Pittsburgh, you got Washington. They've got a couple of easy teams coming in. Not easy, obviously. You can lose them, but not the Dodgers. So win tomorrow with Schwelly. See if Bryce Elder can surprise you again on Sunday, and then go from there.
Let's not forget that the first start of the season, Bryce Elder did his job. Braves scored 5 runs in the first 2 innings off Blake Snell. Bryce Elder did his job. It was an implosion by Raisel Iglesias that wound up costing the Braves that game. But the big thing is win one of the next 2 games, and you are in a good spot. Stephen Tolbert, I'm happy with you, my friend. I feel like this was a podcast where we could have been a bit more negative. We could have been a bit more, downtrodden. But I think that we're in a spot to where we're just being realistic. This team is trying to build itself back up. It's still got a long way to go, I think, to be at the level that many of us hope that they can eventually be, and they can still get there. It's going to take time, but they've got to get a win over the next 2 games. For Stephen Tolbert, you can find him at _outliers on Twitter/X, myself at StatsSAC on Twitter/X, Hammer Territory across all forms of social media, part of the Foul Territory family of podcasts across all forms of social media. So many great shows under the Foul Territory umbrella. Make sure you check them all out after you enjoy your nearly daily dose of the Hammer Territory.
Sorry.
We do. Yes.
Before we sign off,
We do,
sorry.
yes, go ahead.
We have to mention this.
Today
is the 1-year anniversary.
1 year
of Hammer Territory, this podcast. So 1 year ago today, we officially switched over from our old network to this network, to the Foul Territory Network. And we published our very first episode on May 2nd, 2024. And listen, it's been unbelievable. And it's been unbelievable mostly because of you guys, because you guys have been unbelievable. Our numbers have just, I know you guys don't care about numbers, but our numbers have just gone up and up and up. And last month, April of 2025, was our biggest month ever. So just an incredible amount of gratitude that we have for you guys. I have an incredible amount of gratitude for the Foul Territory guys. They're extremely active and helpful on a daily basis. They are not just, silent owners in the background. Like, they are very active. They care very, very, very much how each of these shows do, and they have an active role in helping us do our job. And then another big shout out to Scott, to Brad, to Sean. This 4-man team has, we do a 4-man show because, every week somebody's got something going on and everybody kind of covers for everybody. It's been a really awesome experience, and just incredibly grateful for the fans that came over with us, and the rate that you guys have listened and downloaded these shows has been unreal. So massive amounts of gratitude to you guys and to the Foul Territory guys.
Yeah, and again, we know that you may not care about the stats of the show, but it's because you care that we enjoy doing it so much. Because that's the one thing that connects us all, right? We care so much about this Braves team. That's what lets me, Stephen, Brad, and Scott love doing this every time that we get the chance to, and love interacting with you as the listeners. And cannot thank you enough for your support. Braves country, the thing that makes Braves country so special is how interconnected that it is. You may not know this person, you may not have seen them before in your lifetime, but if you got that Braves connection, it's like you've known each other for 10 to 15 years. Braves country is awesome, and it's great to be a part of it, to be able to discuss the Braves whenever we get the chance. And we'll make sure to continue to do that day in and day out, rain or shine, win or loss. We're going to be here with you no matter what. Until next time, go Braves. We'll talk to you again here on the Hammer Territory Podcast.